Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be working on fixing the big blown out corners on this Space Firebird cabinet tonight. This side's worse than the other. This side over here is not too bad at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this flipped over on its side. I'm not going to worry about sanding the rest of the side just yet. I want to concentrate on getting this corner fixed. And we're actually going to accelerate it with the heat gun, which I forgot to grab out of the back room. But let's get this laid down on the other side here, or on its side. Yep, it has those wheels on it. They're actually really nice shape. Too bad I can't use them in my basement. If I had carpet, I'd keep them on there. But with a vinyl floor, the game will be cruising all over the place. So what we need to do is, I want to sand feather back here a little bit. And when I feather this, this is high too. You kind of want to, when you feather this, I don't think I have a marker over here, do I? Let me look. Yes, I have a blue one. Maybe go right. So basically, I kind of want to feather this area here, okay? Down like this. Ramp it down a little bit. Reason being is when I put my filler, you know, from this area all the way to here, my filler is going to bring this back to level, okay? If I just kind of lightly sand this and start putting filler in here, well, this edge is still going to be swelled up. And then you're going to end up with it kind of like this. Let's say this is the outer edge here. It's going to be kind of like this. You're going to have like a belly in there. It's going to look like crap at the bottom of the cabinet. So first thing I want to do is grind this down real quick. And then we're going to make a little sheet metal corner out of some sheet metal. And then we're going to pour some resin in there. And we are going to dry the resin as fast as we can using a heat gun. Because what's going to happen is resin's going to want to kind of flow through here, out the other side. We're going to put tape and everything the best we can, but some always escapes by. So by using a heat gun, you really accelerate that hardener. And once it starts to get a little bit gelled up, it's usually good at that point. The bottom of the cabinet is nice. It's plywood. So the cabinet, all in all, is not in horrible shape. You know, it's got a little front swelling here. So we'll just knock down this front edge, but the rest of it feels good. But it definitely is like 7/8 of an inch thick rather than probably being 3/4. But I'm not going to mess with it because it's flat. We just need to get that bottom edge. So let's grab the sander. Let me get the sander hooked up. We're going to use the big mud buster, which makes a mess, but it's the quickest way to knock this down. I don't feel like sanding for 20 minutes on the one corner or the one side right here. Okay, I have a piece of like galvanized sheet metal, and we're just gonna bend like a 90-degree angle, which I don't think I'm gonna be able to do on the vise. I'm gonna go to my metal brake real quick and bend this. I'm not gonna bring you guys with me, but I'm just gonna bend a 90-degree angle on this. Okay, let's work on getting this corner made here out of some metal and tape and everything else. First thing I want to do, if I can, now these are little trim screws. They have a tiny little baby head on them. It takes a little square head driver. Now I got to make sure that I put it in far enough so that the T-molding slot won't be interrupted by the screw. So I'm going right to the edge of where they had it cut. So what this is doing is this screw is biting into the good wood. okay, and we have this little head sticking out. Normally I would like to do a little bit better than this, but we only have so much to work with. We are going to throw a couple straight down. These are called trim screws. Even that just has the little bit of a head sticking out, but I screwed into the front of the cabinet just to secure it better. Normally I would like to do a little bit more, but there's really not much to work with on this one, so we kind of only can do so much. So now I'm going to take a screw. Might have to drill this metal. It's thin, but I don't know if the screw is going to go through it. Okay. Now I'm going to take some tape. I'm going to try to stop the liquid from going through the tape, which is pretty hard to do. Sometimes you can get lucky. Corner doesn't look as bad with the sheet metal in there, and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside here in a minute. And using heat is a huge thing that you got to do, because once you can get some of that resin to harden up, you can pour more on top, because what will happen is if you just let it go, it's just going to keep running out. It's never going to stop. You can use plexiglass. I use that quite often too, or Lexan, but I didn't have any out here, so we're using a piece of sheet metal. Okay, so basically, this is what we have inside here. We've got some screws sticking out, just something for it to bite to. The whole corner is completely gone, but we have this new piece of metal here, and this is going to form our new corner. So we're going to mix up some resin here. Yes, my bench is dirty again. Every day, 7 days a week. Grab some resin out here, and I forget the mixing, what they tell you on here. I always forget that. I think it's 10 drops or 20 drops for so many ounces, I forget. Let's see here. Add a half a tube of hardener, a quarter can of resin, add a half a tube of hardener, which would be the bigger tubes. This is a small tube. I just had some left over that I'm using. We obviously don't want to mix up a quarter of a can. Okay, so it says here, mix 6 tablespoons of resin with a quarter teaspoon of hardener. Okay, hold on here. Oh, here we go. 1 ounce of resin to 10 drops of hardener. Okay, so we're going to mix up probably 3 ounces, and then we'll need 30 drops. I'm going to mix up 4 ounces. And what they mean by drops is that 5, 6, 7, 8, there's 10. 20, 30, 40, 5 for good measure. I always like to put a little bit extra. So now we need to stir this thoroughly. We could actually, you know what we're gonna do? Since that corner is kind of completely missing, let's take a little bit of this cloth, which I don't have scissors over here. Maybe we'll grab some scissors real quick. And we're gonna take a little bit of that cloth and stuff it in there. And what this is woven fiberglass cloth. That's enough. We don't need a ton. So let's take our stuff over to the cabinet here. We gotta mix this still. Bear with me here. Working one-handed. Trying to get the stupid camera set up. Tripod is not cooperating. So you want to thoroughly stir this stuff. Very important. You got to get that hardener completely mixed into every part of the resin. If you have any of the resin that's not mixed with the hardener, it could stay sticky on you for a while. It will eventually cure for the most part, but it'll be sticky for a while. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Let's pour a little bit in here. Just take a couple of this cloth that I cut into little squares. We're going to shove it in there. You got to poke it around real good so that it gets completely saturated in the resin itself. And I'm only putting it in the corner where it's really bad. That's the drill. Before I put any more resin in, I want to heat this up some. I want to try to start getting it to gel up as fast as possible, because if you don't, it's just going to be running out the bottom. No matter how well you tape it, this stuff likes to find its way out. Yes, this stuff is flammable. Have I ever had it catch on fire? No. I was repairing a boat once, and the floor in the boat had rotted out because of the fumes from the gas tank below the floor. And we were laying the fiberglass in there heavy. It was me and a couple other guys, and we were really putting it in there, and it was hot outside, and it started smoking the floor of the boat. Made us nervous because, you know, I mean, could it catch on fire? Yeah, it probably could have. We got lucky it didn't. Starting to gel up a little bit. Just pour a little more in there. I'd rather build this a little high than low. You can always sand it down. It's easier than adding. Starting to run out a little bit, that's what happens. That's why you gotta use the heat. If you didn't use the heat and you just pour this in here and say you went in the house, you'll come out the next morning and half of it will probably be running down the side of your cabinet. Plus, I don't recommend leaving this stuff until it's pretty firmed up. Like I said, because of that boat incident that I had years ago, I wouldn't recommend leaving this unattended. Because if it were to combust and just, you know, by itself just catch on fire, you want to be here because you want to be able to put it out. If this thing caught on fire, I'd drag the cabinet outside this door right now, you know what I mean? And when you're done with the cup, whatever's left in there, leave it on your concrete floor or put it outside. Because once again, you never know if that's going to catch on fire on you. Shouldn't, but doesn't mean that it won't. And you can reuse these cups. It'll break out of there, or you can just add over it. It doesn't really matter. So now we're high, which I'm fine with. I'd rather be high. But you see how we got a nice corner there now? I like using this method. I just think it's way easier. It flows itself to where it needs to go. It's almost like self-leveling. I wouldn't say it's almost like self-leveling. It basically is self-leveling. You know, water is self-leveling. If you pour water in a bucket, it's going to level itself out in the bucket. Starting to gel up a little bit. This is probably a little boring for you guys, but kind of want to show you how long it kind of takes to heat up and get it to where it starts to stiffen up. And you'll see it start to stiffen up because it'll start getting a little cloudy. We have very, very minimal seepage, almost none. And also you could tell when it starts to harden up because the wind from the heat gun is not really moving it around that much anymore. It starts to stop moving it around. hardening. Yep. Okay, I'm not going to play with it anymore. Just going to get it set up now. Okay, now it's also important to take your heat gun and go underneath. My battery's dying. Maybe not. That's all this is a chemical reaction, and I'm just speeding the process along with heat. The two chemicals, when they start, when they're mixed, they start producing heat because they're curing. And it starts pretty quickly, the heat part of it. And we're just adding excessive heat to it to try to really get it to dry fast. Sticky, but firming up. Okay, it's hot. Okay, let's see if we can get this untaped and see if we can unscrew it. That's hot. And there is a corner, guys. And that's just how simple it is. Obviously, it's not fully cured yet, but that's how you get yourself a new cabinet corner. It is hot, so it's going to start curing pretty quickly. We might be able to sand it here shortly. So what I'm going to do now is clean up this stuff right here. And I'm going to take my mud buster and I'm going to go around the edges of the cabinet just like I did with kicks. And just kind of knock all that stuff down. Let this kind of cool because it's going to start, now that the chemical reaction has really started, it's not going to stay hot for too much longer. It's going to start the cooling cycle pretty soon. So let me set up and we'll get the rest of the edges on this side done. Okay, now we're gonna mix up some body filler. It is cold out here. It was 2 degrees earlier. With the wind chill, I think it's like 15 below. So I opened this door to blow everything out in here, and it literally drops temperature big time within a minute. So we're just using regular body filler. I buy this at Summit. Summit Racing has this on sale right now. $29 a gallon. You got to spend $100 with them and they ship it for free. So I just bought, I had to get a quart of paint for those rims and bumpers I'm painting for that on my other channel. So I bought 3 Bondos with the paint because the paint was only $35 and I had to get it to $100. So I bought 3 gallons of filler. I probably could have gotten away with 2, but I ended up getting 3. Because I just had opened this one, so I like to have a couple at a time because I use a lot of this stuff. But if anybody wants Bondo and they don't want to spend $60, $80 for a gallon of it, because that's what it costs at Home Depot and Lowe's now, go on Summit Racing, buy yourself a couple of them if you're going to use a lot of it, because it's going to end up being cheaper in the future. But obviously, if you're just a hobbyist doing a cabinet here and there, just go to Harbor Freight and get yourself a quart of it. I believe it's fairly cheap at Harbor Freight. Make sure you guys don't stir this stuff. You kind of fold it over like I am. Stirring creates air bubbles. Now another thing, when you're spreading your filler, go past your repair far, so you have some, so you can blend it back in. It'll make it less noticeable. If you just go like this, just that little edge there, it's gonna be way more noticeable than if you flow it out 8-10 inches into your panel. I don't know where the hell all this dirt's coming from. I have to mix up a little bit more around the perimeter of the cabinet. I gotta put it. And the better you spread it, the less sanding you have to do. Around the perimeter, you just got to kind of build it up. So all we're doing is filling in all those little particleboard chips in the edge of the wood. I'm going to mix up some more. I'll be back. Right here I switched to my smaller DA sander and 180 grit sandpaper. Using a block sander by hand is a must when at particle board cabinets, because if you use a DA on the edges, it just rips the edges up and then you have to put more body filler. Okay, this back corner fell out. We're going to use a little bit of short strand fiberglass right there. That's unfortunately what happens sometimes with particle board. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But not a big deal. We'll throw a little bit of that in there. And then what I'm going to do is router out the T-molding slot. And then, man, it's cold. And then we're going to flip the cabinet over on the other side so that we can at least get that started tonight, so that tomorrow I can finish up the rest of the bodywork on this cabinet. And then it's ready for primer. Once it's primered, we'll sand it down, and then we're going to paint the whole cabinet black, sides, front, back, everything. And then we'll apply the vinyl to the sides and the front. I'm almost out of this stuff. I'm going to have to get more of it. I don't buy this by the gallon because I don't use a ton of it. I occasionally will use it on cars depending on what I'm doing. Like this short strand fiberglass, if I weld a new panel on a car, I will put this as my first coat over the welds after I grind it, because if there's any sort of a pinhole left over from grinding and welding, this will prevent moisture from getting through from the backside to the front of the panel. You got to make sure on these particle board cabinets, you saw me with the block sander, you got to go around the edges with the block sander. You cannot use the DA sander because it will rip the particle board apart. And then you'll have to just do more filler around the edges. I'm actually gonna speed this along with some with the heat gun, because I'm gonna have to router that corner too. Now, just so you guys believe me, I want to show you how hard this stuff is. Pick the cabinet up by it. So I'm able to pick up the cabinet by that corner that is merely just fiberglass resin with a little bit of fiber in there. It's those screws help it, all that stuff plays a role in it. All that back is dry. I'm going to router the front here. Remember, counterclockwise. Okay, I got probably another 5-10 minutes. I'm going to grab a moving blanket while I'm waiting. That fiberglass resin is a bit hard to cut through. I must have hit just a little bit of the one screw. You saw that little spark maybe. Okay, you see that's built back up. I try not to leave straight edges, even if there originally was. I'll always give them a little bit of an arc if possible, just because I know it's going to want to chip if it gets banged up. So I'm going to get this flipped over real quick. We're going to try to knock this down with a belt sander just to show you that you can use a belt sander if you want. I want to show you how bad a particle board cabinet, I got to try to bend down here, hold on, how bad a particle board cabinet will swell at the end. So if you look here, you see how there's light underneath that? All the way down. And look at that end right there, it's touching. That is how bad a particle board cabinet will swell. So that's what we need to get out of. So let's try this Bauer cordless belt sander with a, I think there's 80 grit on there, maybe 36, I forget. There's a used belt on there. Let's see what that'll do as far as taking it down. All right, let me show you here. And this is what I'm going to talk about. How you want to take my mask off so you can hear me a little better. Won't be as muffled. So now, we're perfectly straight, okay? Now look down here. We have a gap at the end. See that little gap right there? I'll move the little 1/8 inch gap. That's what you want, because you want to take your filler, build it flat, and ramp it into your wood. And that is going to give you a nice straight edge when you're done. You can take a straight edge and go right across here and it'll be perfect. And you can see how bad it swelled by how our T-molding groove is now off center. This side was actually swelled worse than the other side, but this side, excuse me, this side wasn't blown out as bad as the other side. So this we're going to fix with just the short strand fiberglass. I think I want to screw that metal to it, so that we can get ourselves a nice square edge. So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna grab the smaller D8. Well, let me see here. Oh, we'll just use this mud buster real quick. I'm gonna knock all these edges down and then we'll get that metal screwed on there. We'll put a short strand fiberglass in the corner there and then we are going to call it a night. Tomorrow night we'll finish up the bodywork and should get it in paint, primer rather. Tomorrow I gotta paint bumpers and rims and stuff like that, but I'll bake them dry so I can move them out of the spray booth so that we can get this in there and get it primered. This on real quick. The reason why I'm screwing this metal on is so that I can get this corner built straight in one coat. If I don't use it, it's going to more than likely take me 2 coats. So I would rather just get it, let it dry overnight. Tomorrow, we got a little bit of body work on this side, then we got to do body work on the front, the top, and the back. The top's going to need a light skim coat of body filler on the whole top because the particle board's really rough, which is very famous for these Sega Gremlin cabinets. Now, when you do this with a piece of metal, wood, whatever you have in there, take your spreader and push it down. You gotta pack it in there. Don't leave yourself with an air pocket in there. And I'm gonna leave this piece of metal attached tonight. I'm not gonna take it off. I guess I could if I heat it up. But I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay, I'm happy with the progress we got done tonight. Clean this Bondo scrubber off. So basically, I gotta clean my cabinet out. Look at that, it's a freaking disaster. All my sandpaper is messed up. So none of these videos I do are staged. I make a video and put it out the same day, okay? No trickery, no crap like that. It's 9:30 at night. I started around 7 o'clock tonight working on this cabinet. Obviously, I've been out here for hours before that, working on other stuff, but anyways, I have 2.5 hours into this. I've got one side done and most of the other side done. There's no reason that you can't do all the body work in a day. That's why I make these videos, to show people that this isn't a week-long project. It doesn't need to be. You don't need to spend, you know, every weekend in your garage sanding the same cabinet down. It's just not that involved. There's not that much to it. And hopefully the way I'm showing you that I fix these things will speed your guys' process up. I'm not claiming that what I do is, you know, it might not work for you. It works for me, and that's what I've done forever. So that's why I do this. But just trying to help people understand that you don't need to take 6 months, a year to restore a game. Get it done, move on to another one. You know what I mean? Or enjoy it. That's what it's all about, is you want to enjoy the game when you're done with it. That's why you're fixing it, because you love the game. So I just don't see a need to take forever to restore something that doesn't need to. You know, obviously I get these games done and in paint and stuff, and they do sit in the basement for a while, but that's not necessarily my fault. A lot of times I'm waiting on parts. I literally can do body work and paint a cabinet before any of these guys can get artwork done for me. You know, and if I had all the files for a lot of this stuff, I would just print it myself. But I don't have the files, and I don't have the time to sit down with a computer and try to find an image and clean it up. You know, first of all, I suck at computers. I don't have the programs to do that. And I really honestly don't have the attention span to really want to learn to do it. I guess it's not something I really care that much about. It's easier for me to just order the artwork and have it show up. It just sucks because everybody just takes so long to do artwork. I don't get it. It just bothers me because we have a printer, we have a computer, we have art files on our computer, and I can walk in the house right now and print a Donkey Kong side art within 10 minutes. So why does it take 2 months to do something? I don't know. I don't get it. If I owned a print shop, I'd be making money hand over fist, because if you ordered a Donkey Kong artwork from me tonight, I would have it printed tomorrow and out the door tomorrow afternoon, because there's no reason not to. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know what everybody does. Unless you have a failure with your printer, and if you're a full-time business printing, you should have at least 1 to 2 sets of inks extra. You need to have, our printer has 7 print heads. You have to have 7 print heads extra, so that when a print head fails, you can easily swap it out and continue on. If you're printing daily, your lines are not going to get clogged up. Your print heads are not going to fail as much. It's just, it's pretty basic and simple. I don't really get it. And once again, you're printing a lot. You're not going to go buy 1 roll of vinyl. You're going to buy 10 rolls of vinyl so you have it in stock. But, you know, what do I know? I guess I look at things a little different than most people. I would rather just get it done and move on to something else. But I guess that's my gripe with why artwork takes so long. So we'll stop with that now. So, all right, guys, well, that's going to end this video. Actually, I'm just looking at the bottom of this cabinet real quick. I want to see where the lid levelers originally went. There's 2 holes. This one looks threaded. So the leg levelers go here. So we're going to put them back on. We're going to take these wheels off. I'll save the wheels. They're pretty nice. But yeah, we'll take those off and put regular leg levelers on it. Looks like 3/8 thread. So it should just accept the regular leg leveler on there. But yeah, this cabinet's going to turn out nice. We got a lot of work to do to the front, the top. I probably have 2 hours more to go. I'm going to say I have 2 hours left of body work on this cabinet. And then it's going to take me about an hour to primer it. So 5 hours, we'll call it 6 hours to be on the safe side. So 6 hours, 1 day, one of your weekend days. You guys shouldn't have any issue knocking it out if you could put your mind to it and get yourself just, you know, a day to work on something. Because once you do the body work, that's the hard part. Painting it and all that stuff is easy. Even if you're using a roller, it's all easy. You know, and then at that point, you can start putting the thing back together. I always try to order parts before I start working on the cabinet, and I still get bit in the ass because I get the cabinet done so fast that I'm still waiting on stuff. But this, I have everything, except for some wiring harnesses, like a couple pieces of wiring harnesses, which I'm probably more than likely going to have to make because I don't have them. I'm waiting on the switching power supply, which should be here tomorrow. So what I figured out what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to put the original power supply back in here, and I'm just going to leave it disconnected. It does work. I was going to use it for Carnival, but you know what? It matches the number to the cabinet and everything, so I'm going to leave it in here. This is where it belongs, so we're going to leave it in there. I'm just going to put a switcher in it. I don't feel like messing with that one. Let me know what you guys think. Do you want to see me recap it and see if we can get the original one to work, and I'll just keep the switcher in case it fails? Let me know what you guys want, what you think. I'll do either way. I don't really care. I mean, I would rather use the original one, but let me know your thoughts on these original power supplies, because I only have one Frogger, only one of these style power supplies, and it's not running the original one, it's running a switcher. So let me know if you think I should just run it off the original power supply or just put the switcher in. But I definitely am going to keep the original power supply in the cabinet. So I have everything for this. I'm trying to think if there's anything I don't. We printed the control panel overlay. This old game sent me the screen bezels and the marquee. I got to use marquee from eBay, original one. I had an issue with it when I got it. The guy had 2 of them. One of them had a bunch of like sticky residue stuck to the back of it, and the one I bought was the other one that didn't. And so I messaged him, and he was really nice about it, and I was gonna send that one back, and he was gonna send out the new one. But then he was holding it up to the light, and the one that he had, that I originally was gonna buy, had a lot of scratches that you could see through it. So I was like, you know what? I took some rubbing alcohol, and we were able to get that stickiness off the back. So the one that I got actually had less scratching in it than the one he had. So I have an original one for that. It does have some scratching on it. I'd rather have the original with a little bit of scratching than an aftermarket one. So I try my best to run original stuff. Even when I had to get all new art for my Tron, I was able to keep the original marquee, the glass one. I had gotten a new one from Phoenix, and they don't look the same. The way that the colors fade in and out are totally different from the one that Phoenix makes versus the original one. But, you know, there's only so much you can do. So I was able to keep my original one because it was in such good shape. But, all right, guys, well, that's going to end part 2, Space Firebird. Let me know what you guys think about the power supply. Should we run the original one? Should I just hook up the switcher? I don't mind either way. If I'm going to run the original one, I got to get some capacitors, which not a big deal. I think Arcade Parts and Repair might have a cap kit for that. If not, I'll just look at it and buy them individually if I have to. Trying to think if there's anything else. We got to get a monitor working for this thing, and I got to get a vertical frame, which I got to look because I got to give this guy with that kicks cabinet a vertical frame. I need a vertical frame for this. I have a vertical frame for right now in my Alpine ski, but I also need one for kicks. So I need 4 vertical frames. I think I have 2 in the basement and 1 out there for sure. So that's 3. I gotta see if I might have to come up with 1 more. Because I have a vertical frame out there with a tube on it that somebody necked it. So I just gotta take the tube off and get rid of the tube. But we'll see what happens. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up, I'd really appreciate that. Once again, if you know anybody that's interested in watching this kind of stuff, or is into this kind of stuff, or anything like that, repairing old stuff from the 80s, 90s, please share my video with them. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.